Facing southwest, I looked out over the undulating Apennine foothills, some 20 kilometers south of Parma. The hills rise up from the plain of the Po Valley, which is as flat as a sheet of uncooked lasagne. I had taken the bus out from Parma to visit the Castello di Torrechiara Castle, one of the most magnificent fortresses in northern Italy. It appears suddenly at the top of a hill where the plains end. From the bus stop, there was a brief walk culminating in a steep ascent just under the southeastern ramparts. One enters from the southeast up a stone passageway, turns left, crosses a stone bridge, and then climbs to the southwest rampart facing the south tower. The west tower is in the sun behind me. Continuing into the courtyard, one faces the north tower. But enough of confusing directions. This video will focus on my tour of the splendidly frescoed rooms on the ground floor. The upper floor rooms will feature in my next video. I started off in the Jupiter room, and even what I had read in advance, which had inspired me to come to Torrechiara, hadn't prepared me for the lavishly decorated rooms. In the Jupiter room, I loved the trellis on the central wall, with all the birds perched in it. In the next room, the trellis room, the entire barrel vault was a trellis, where some birds merely enjoyed the view, and others nibbled the grapes. In the adjoining landscape room, I particularly liked the fantasy creatures on the wall to my left when I entered. But there were details everywhere, from pseudo-Flemish ruins to a Roman soldier fighting a rather fantastic bull. Cesare Baglione and various assistants were responsible for the frescoes and so-called grotesques in all three of these rooms, and my view was that they all must have had a great time during the work, giving the freest rein to their imagination. Proceeding to the Victory Room, where Baglione, his assistants, and Innocenzo Martini were responsible for the decoration, I should mention when all this artistic outpouring occurred. Judging by the artists' biographies and some of the historical motifs, it seems to have been around the 1570s and 80s. Coats of arms from Pope Gregory XIII and the Habsburg Emperor Rudolf II represent the spiritual and temporal powers, presumably at the time of the painting. Next door are two smaller rooms, the first of which is called the Angel Room. I tried not to get dizzy looking up at the trompe-l'œil balustrades. In the center of the ceiling's cross vault is a quince branch and fruit, a symbol, along with the lion, of the Sforza family of Milan. The balustrades and lions continue in the adjacent curtain room, where the vaults are covered by white curtains which meet in an umbrella in the ceiling center. Here the artist was again Cesare Baglione, while the historians aren't sure who was responsible for the Angel Room. From here I stepped into the former kitchen. Aside from the stove and open fireplace, there were several hooks attached to the walls and ceiling, presumably for hanging hams or possibly guests who weren't complimentary enough about the food. The final room on this floor is the Sala degli Stemmi, the gallery with coats of arms, which, aside from various grotesques in the lunettes, features the coats of arms of 4 popes, as well as 3 symbols referring to the Sforza and Visconti families. Why these families? Because the castle was built for Pier Maria Rossi II, who was a condottiero in the service of the Visconti and later the Sforza families of Milan for roughly 4 decades in the mid to late 1400s. and despite the fearsome fortifications, the castle was built between 1448 and 1460, not primarily for military defense purposes, but as a pleasure residence for Pier Maria Rossi II and his lover, Bianca Pellegrini. I stepped out for a breather onto the northeastern ramparts between the east and north towers, the latter in the sun. Then, crossing back down to the courtyard level, I walked through the remains of the stables and enjoyed the view of the countryside to the southwest, which we saw at the beginning. In my next video, I'll continue my visit on the upper floor with a spectacular golden chamber.